ギルバート・オサリバンは現在ジャージー島にスタジオ付きの家を構え暮らしている。ギルバート本人とロンドンで会うことになった。アメリカでのレコーディングから帰ってきたばかりの彼を訪ねた。
Hi. Nice to meet you. We're from Song to Soul. Yes, we came to see Mr. O'Sullivan.
Oh, okay, come through.
Thank you. Hello. Oh, Mr. O'Sullivan.
Hi, Fuji.
Pleased to meet you.
Thank you.
We're from Song to Soul.
Okay, good to see you. This is my wife also.
Genki
Hello.
desu ka?
Genki desu. How do you do?
It's my daughter Tara.
Hello.
And elder daughter Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie, nice to meet you.
Oh. So we're going to do an interview, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let the show begin.
Thank you.
Well, what I can always share is that people again think it's based on real experience. Being left in the church, stood up, attempting suicide. My mother is still alive. She didn't die. My father died. But my father never came into my mind when I wrote the song because I didn't really know my father. So I think if I didn't know my father, I might have been more sensitive about doing that. I can be another person. I think a good lyricist becomes the situation. I think you don't have to experience a situation to be able to write about it. I think you have to have an understanding of the situation. And a good lyricist who has a good understanding of that's what takes you in. I think whether it's a writer, a book writer or a lyricist, you get into that situation, you look at what it is that you think that person is going through. Maybe a film director, when you're plotting a scene, how does it look? Is that how I think it would look for that person? So those are the things which make you good at what you do, I think. And as a lyricist, my interpretation of what goes on in those situations, I have no idea what it's going to be when I started. That suddenly becomes aware as you get into it. Early lyrics of most of those songs would probably be slightly different to how they ended up, but that's part of the beginning process. So all you're doing is, in terms of When Alone Again, that's the one song people will obviously ask me about. It's because I was in Bartol's cottage with Gordon Mills, and I was being able to write all day. So I had the melody, and I had two middle sections, and I couldn't decide which middle section to use, and so I would leave that. And then I just started to come up with ideas for the lyric. But I knew it was a nice ballad, so it had to be not a comical lyric. That's clear. Nothing humorous. So it was one of the straightforward songs. And I decided which middle I would use, and then I finished it, and the title was the thing that I almost had took the longest, because how I come up with Alone Again, actually, I don't know it, but I remember that it was Alone Again, the naturally bit was not natural. For some strange reason, that took longer. And then it was just a song. It wasn't special. It was just, then I got on to the next song. I think it was We Will, I think, the next song I did.
In a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any lesser, I promise myself to treat myself and visit a nearby tower. And climbing to the top, will throw myself off in an effort to make clear to whoever what it's like when you're shattered, left standing in the lurch at a church where people are saying, my God, that's tough, she stood him up. No point in us remaining, we may as well go home, as I did on my own, alone again, naturally.
If I buy a song that I like, both melodically and lyrically, I want the reason I like the lyric to be why I like it. And I've been so disappointed so many times when I've heard the real story of a lyric I like, and I think, I'm disappointed by the real story. It's once it's out in the public domain, it's your song. If you like a song of mine or by anybody, it's yours. And your interpretation is all that matters, not my interpretation. And so that always rings true with me. So I feel that I put a lot of work into writing it. And if I have to explain it, I've kind of defeated the object. It has to be self-explanatory, even if the interpretation isn't what I was doing. And I get a lot of misinterpretations, and every one of them I like. When Gordon Mills came along and managed me, he put me into a bungalow out by St. George's Hills where he lived with his other artists. And so it was fantastic. I think I had 3 pianos there. That was a bungalow. So I was always, that's all I wanted to do, was get these upright pianos and just play and write. And the opportunity when Gordon came along meant that I could give up my work. I could give up my job. I mean, I could write all day. So, but the thing when you're young is that you want to do that, and you are quite disciplined, but you want to meet girls and have a good time too and stuff. And so therefore you're undisciplined in certain areas. But I used to write between midnight and 4 in the morning. So, and I'd sleep most of the day.
以後もギルバートは充実した環境の中でいくつもの美しい曲を作り上げていく。
As if something somewhere had happened to me, which I couldn't see. And then the moment I met you again, I knew in my heart that we were friends. It had to be so, it couldn't be no, but try.
My big influences when I started was Dylan from a lyrical point of view, because what was fantastic about Bob Dylan was that he was the lyric writer that took you away from Moon in June, because he wrote about issues that affect us all worldwide. And that was a big influence on me as a young songwriter, whereas Lennon and McCartney was melodic. I was never really influenced by Lennon and McCartney lyrically, but I was very influenced by Dylan. So if you put those two together, that was the if you like, the basis of my songwriting career, how I started. But the approach is pretty much the same. It's the attempt is to come up with a good melody. Always the hardest thing to do, then and now. And then to come up with a good lyric. And the time it took to write a good lyric in those days. I'm a better lyricist now than I was. And when I started writing songs in 64, 63, we didn't have cassette players. And so I would borrow a reel-to-reel, and I would stick a coat hanger sticking out of the top of the piano, and I would put the microphone from the tape recorder. And then I would put the tape on the slowest rotation, 2.4 or something, and I would then put my songs onto a tape. And then from tape you move to cassettes. But the very first songs I wrote, I didn't have the money or the opportunity to use a tape recorder. So I used to write the melodies with an arrow going up if it was C to D to A, because it could be C, could be going down. So I would try and write the melody down note-wise, and the arrow pointing up to go up, and medium tempo. And very often I'd come back the next day, and it was gone, because even though the arrow was going up and I would go up, I'd lost it. So the invention of the tape recorder and the cassette recorder was brilliant for me.